Orc survival evolved. Known to most, this is the most beautiful island we have yet seen. Journey with us as we take our survivor through the swamps of dread. Through to the piney reaches of the redwood. And snowy mountains to the north. This prehistoric land surely brings terror and fear amongst most survivors. However, you can find safe havens which truly demonstrate the beauty of this island. But can our survivor conquer both land and sea? In Ark Ascension, the island. Our journey begins with spawning at the beach. Implant in an arm, we are still not sure how this got there. He checks the surveying area to see if there's any predators. This is Loxky. He is the survivor that we will be following on our journey into the unknown. As he moves along the beach, he collects resources by hand. Stone, will become useful later in crafting tools. A triceratops wanders nearby, but poses no threat to the survivor, unless antagonized. He begins punching a tree with much vigor in order to gather more resources. Thatch and wood is gathered, and now he attempts to craft an item. The pickaxe. The first step on this survivor's journey, he now has a tool in hand, enabling him to get more resources. Hitting a stone, he gets many flint and a little bit of stone. He sees a dodo nearby, but chooses to ignore it. With all of the flint that he has gathered, he sees to see if he can make a weapon. Not quite, but he can create another tool. The hatchet. As he attempts to make it inland, he discovers a giant crocodile, known as the Sarko. He quickly tries to evade by getting across the river, only to be attacked by a man-eating piranha in the sea. Having fallen victim to the man-eating piranha, he awakens again on the beach. He must find an alternative route in order to get to the mainland. The Sarko lurks nearby as we see his tail disappear behind a rock. There it is. Not sure how to deal with this dangerous situation, he checks the water to see if he can make it across once again. He knows there is a piranha lurking nearby. He sees it, heading for him, and returns to shore. He must make his way around the Sarco in order to cross the water at a more safe location. Running through the city of rocks, he is not sure if he will make it out on the other side. He is out of stamina and must rest. Back on his feet, he manages to make it through the rocks and sees a giant. Like that of the trike, this brontosaurus poses no threat to the survivor unless antagonized. He attempts to make it across the water once again. And he's done it. He is now on the mainland and able to gather more resources to help him progress through the night. A tree lurks nearby, and it stands no chance against his vigour of punching it. He gathers berries while crouched to practice his stealthy manoeuvres. From the fibres of the plants which he has gathered, he was able to make some clothes. He sees across the water that the Sarco has bitten off more than it can chew. He decides to make a dive in hopes to harvest its corpse. Without risk comes no reward. Thankfully, our survivor is granted many hide and meat for his brave efforts of crossing the river filled with piranha. From the corpse of the Sarco, he gets a bow and some arrows. More than likely, it is items of the previous victim of the Sarco. It appears relatively safe, and he sees a fish. Not the most modern way of fishing, and doesn't seem as effective. However, he has success. This fish meat will give him much needed nutrition later down the line. He has built a campfire. This will allow him to cook both the meat he gained from the Sarco and the fish he decapitated earlier. He chooses to cook the prime meat over the fish. Rich in nutrition, it should help him even more than the raw meat. He takes warmth by the fire and sits for a moment. After contemplating, he needs to make shelter. He begins work immediately, laying his foundation. As we fast travel through time, he begins making walls. It rains and he realizes he will need a shelter in future, both for the harsh nights and the stormy weather. He sees a turtle outside and is quite curious what it's doing. It poses no threat, so he gets more meat from the fire. The turtle doesn't seem fazed by the fire at all. He separated his meat in order to make spoiled meat. Once the meat has gone bad, it can be combined with narco berries to make narcotics. These narcotics can be used to make trank arrows, enabling him to knock out the most dangerous creatures in Ark. While out gathering resources, he sees potential prey, a parasaur. He bowlers it so it does not move and begins spraying arrows in its face. It falls quickly, giving the survivor the fruit of his labour. He returns to building. The hut is now complete. However, this would not withstand an attack from an aggressive prehistoric creature. He must reinforce it with wood. Having spent most of the day building this house, he is now tired and decides he wants to take a nap. Later that day, he discovers a survivor. She is aggressive. He crouches down to show that he means no threat, and attempts to recruit her into his tribe. He sees a dull officer. He throws a spear in its booty in order to antagonize it. One to the head to finish it off. That dull officer did not stand a chance. Through gathering many amounts of resources, he is able to make 2 forges. The forge will enable him to melt down the metal which he finds. This, in turn, will enable him to make better tools. However, to make these better tools, he is going to need a workbench, known as the smithy. He checks the mortar and pestle to see how his narcotics are coming on. Placing his resources in the smithy for a later date. The 2 survivors decide it is time to try and tame an animal. They set their eyes on a trike. However, they must survey the area, as when one trike is attacked, if others are nearby, they will flock to defend it. They decide they should still take the risk. One caught on a tree could be an easy victim. Attempting to knock it out with tranquilizing arrows, he gets knocked from the rock and dazed. The dance has begun. Tension rises as they discover there is another Triceratops within the vicinity. Now the survivors must deal with 2. An arrow missed by one, and then another. They now have 3 trikes chasing them. This could be a dangerous situation, as the pressure exerted from the trike with a horned attack can leave the survivors decapitated. they've done it. They have managed to knock out not one but 3 trikes. Berries must be now inserted into the anus of the trikes in order to please them. When they awake, they will be part of the tribe. Two triceratopses have been tamed, however the third may take a while. Moments later they gather around in anticipation of the trike being tamed. And it's done. They need to choose a name for this magnificent beast which has now joined them. Horny. And this is where we end off our episode. If you did find yourself enjoying this one, be sure to go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you.